Hello everyone, welcome back to Water Moon Cards. This is Luna, and I wanted to talk about my plans for 2026, personal learning, and how that overlaps with the content for this channel. I was really deeply inspired by a video that Ina made on her channel, Taproot Tarot, and it was a mass market must-haves collector's kind of video, which I almost didn't click on, but I'm so glad I did. Almost everything you see here on the table, in fact, everything you see here on the table is something that she has either recommended or that I had and that she had too. And I'm sorry, Ina, for going a little single white female on you. But it was just one of those moments watching that video where things clicked. I had thought about relaunching a channel, but I kept telling myself no. But then I kept getting these ideas that I wanted to talk to other people interested in cartomancy about. And I didn't know what to do with this urge to create something until I saw that video. And then finally, after watching that video a couple of times and thinking through it, I finally kind of figured out what I was going to do. Hence, we are here and we're going to keep going because I've got so many ideas and I just want to share them with you today. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is books I'm interested in reading. And this is one I pulled after I saw it referenced on Ina's About page on her YouTube channel for Taproot Tarot. There was just a quote from this particular book, and the title, Neuroscience of Tarot, really caught my eye and sparked my imagination. So this is by an author named Siddhartha Ramakrishnan, and he's a PhD neuroscientist. You can see a little bit of his biography here on the back. So I'll just hold this here and you can pause and read it if you want. But he's a real deal neuroscientist. And I've always been interested in the crossover between spirituality and neuroscience in my own practice in Buddhism, and how meditation kind of works and how it changes the brain and all these activities that we do as meditators, different types of meditation exercises that we do. And I know that there's, again, similarities and connections. Our brains are really good at looking at patterns and making connections among disparate things. So I'm really keen to see what this author has to say about that. So that's going to be one. Another book I want to read as soon as possible is Tom Benjamin's new book, The Modern Fortune Teller's Field Guide. Tom Benjamin, as I've mentioned here on the channel, is someone who inspired me to learn how to read tarot in the first place, and really helped me understand that there could be more of a structure and a framework to tarot beyond just memorizing individual keywords for cards. So I'm always interested when he has something coming out. I've read his Tarot on Earth book. I've taken a class from him. I'm also really enjoy his videos where he talks about real life reading scenarios, and I appreciate his ethical approach, and I look forward to reading his book. I also, on my previous channel, did a whole series of guidebook reviews, and I have some footage of that. So I'm thinking about either reissuing or maybe re-recording some of that, just on some tarot guidebooks that I found helpful or interesting over the course of my studies, and maybe, revisiting some of these and trying some of the techniques and spreads that they recommend. So these are just a few that might come up in book reviews next year. And then another part of my learning plans for 2026 and stuff I'll share on the channel as I go is I want to do the Drop 'em 78 challenge. And I saw, again, Ina's videos. She's doing the Drop 'em 78 challenge this year with this deck, the Dame Fortune's Wheel Tarot. And her just daily summaries of her learning have been so inspiring. And this is a deck that I reviewed the guidebook a little bit, but I've never really gotten this out to read it. I've never really taken the time to actually, concentrate and kind of learn each card by card. And while I don't think that card by card is necessarily the best way to learn as a beginner, I can see now the wisdom and the advantage of Esther's program or self-guided challenge from Drop 'em 78. If you are a more experienced reader, but then you're trying to kind of level up with a different kind of a system or different kind of imagery that you've never really worked with before, I think that's a way to take your previous learning and kind of crack open something new. So I'm going to copy Ina a little bit, but I'm actually going to do it with a different deck. So Ina's doing it right now. I'll link to her shorts playlist she's doing this comparison with a Marseille deck, and I'm going to use a different kind of deck to compare with the Dame Fortune's Wheel imagery, as well as Paul Hewson's guidebook. And I'll talk more about what I'm doing in a separate video, but I'm really excited about this challenge. Unfortunately, I can't do it during the end of the year, which is when Esther always hosts these on her Mindful Tarot channel and her Facebook page. So I'm going to have to do it in January, do it off book. What I'm really excited about, though, is I'm going to do it with a friend who, in her own way, is trying to learn tarot, but she's been doing card pulls, one card a day, no question, associated with the card pull, and has been struggling for like 3 years now to try to learn anything about tarot, and really feels like she's not getting anywhere. So I'm hoping this challenge will also help her kind of really get that push she needs to get over the hump and actually learn how to read and feel more confident in that. So Drop in 78 is going to run January through March for me and my friend, and then I'll probably need a little bit of a breather there. I'm thinking April, May, June, July, sometime in there is going to be a really good time to dive into Lenormand finally. And again, this is another Ina Made Me Do It. In that same Mass Market Tarot Collectors video, she mentioned these 2 decks as a great way to potentially start Lenormand. This Laura Tuan deck for the guidebook, which is super chunky and gives you many interpretations for each card in a variety of contexts. And then this little mini Grand Tableau Lenormand, which lays out the classical Grand Tableau using all the cards. So kind of using these in conjunction as a beginner resources for learning Lenormand. And so I want to do that. And if you want to learn Lenormand with me or have a refresher or something, I don't know, we could figure out some kind of challenge or exercises. Or if you know of a learning Lenormand challenge, like prompts to work on that I could incorporate into my studies sometime in the spring, that would be super cool. Let me know what you think about that. I don't have a challenge per se for the summer or early autumn. I was thinking maybe playing cards if I'm not burned out on Lenormand by then and too much learning. I do have this book by Jonathan D., Fortune Telling using playing cards, and I also have a book called Untitled Tarot, but it's really about all different kinds of cartomancy systems. It's by Kathleen Matthews, and that she has sections on playing cards as well. So maybe I could use those 2 resources together. Not really sure. Again, if you have any ideas for like a challenge, a daily challenge or weekly challenge I could do to learn playing cards, that might be a good motivator for me. I like challenges. I like things that are like date specific and that have you do certain activities. For me, that's a great way to learn. And then towards the end of the year, I was inspired next year to pick up on Tarot Advent. Tarot by Mims has been doing the Tarot Advent. It's a invention of Kelly Bear's. And I'm thinking I'm going to use the Nightmare Before Christmas Tarot, which is a themed deck based on the film. And I just don't get to read with this deck enough. It's so cute, and I usually only do 1 or 2 readings with it a year for myself. And if I happen to be at a market around Halloween or between Halloween and Christmas, sometimes people will pick it, but I would love to do a 25-day fun study with this. I might do it actually ending on solstice, will depend on how the timing works out for me, but I just love the idea of doing something around that time of year in the lead up to the holidays and being able to use a fun deck that I absolutely love more consistently throughout that time. So that's going to be my end of year challenge, the Tarot Advent, or some flavor of that, and I'll link to Kelly Bear's video about how this challenge works. And then my final set of ideas for 2026 is just video ideas I've been having and hope to make soon. So one will be on oracle decks that I like and how I like to use them. Here's some examples. And I think Laura of Aquamarine 18 did an oracle and how I use it kind of video. And there may have been other VRs to that in prior, this prior year. So I'd like to make my own response to that video and talk a little bit about how I use Oracle. I also have some ideas for different spreads that I've come up with, and I want to do walkthroughs of those, similar to my Card of the Year spread that I posted a couple weeks ago. I want to do some videos on my own opinions about tarot ethics and reading tarot both for ourselves and for other people. I have an idea for a Divination Tools tag that I'm going to be posting in January, so I hope many of you will respond to that. and talked about the different tools that you use and how you use them. And related to that, I wanted to talk about how tarot works, or any kind of divination, what I think happens when you are divining using any kind of tool. And that might be a multi-part series. And then another thing I want to talk about is imagery. I love to talk about different imagery and how it impacts readings, how it stimulates the imagination, and how different imagery might lead us down, various paths towards an answer to our inquiry. So you can see, 3 very different decks here, for example. It's all the same card, and so if this card came up in the context of a reading or with other cards, how might you interpret that differently depending on the imagery? And so I want to explore this idea in a bit more depth, and talk a little bit more about how and why I collect the decks that I do, based on this kind of concept of imagery impacting the reading. So those are my ideas. I hope that's interesting. I hope something in that smorgasbord captured your attention and will inspire you to subscribe and come back and keep checking in with me throughout the year. Please let me know what your plans are for 2026, either for personal growth or for your channel, or both. I'd love to know what you've got planned and what your goals are. So until then, be well, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.